Beautiful. So today's call once again is going to be about how to deal with debt collectors and just putting them in their place. So we got a whole subchapter in which Congress has passed. Let's see when they passed it in 1977. Right, it was passed in 1977. This is the public law right here, and this is talking about debt collectors. And this is what Congress found. These were congressional findings, and this was a declaration of purpose. So a declaration is factual. They got evidence behind it. And right away, we always know they're letting us know that there's abusive practices right away, that there's abundant evidence of the use of abusive, deceptive, and unfair debt collection practices. So, what do we mean by deceptive and what do we mean by unfair? Right? And how do they deceive you? They deceive you through the contract in which they have you guys go through or through the agreement. When you guys apply for a credit card online, you guys aren't, signing anything. But when you get the card, right? So, you guys may be like, oh, but when I applied for my credit card online, I didn't have to sign anything, right? The signature and your guys' social security number that's what creates the loan. And then you guys leave the dealership, you guys leave the transaction thinking in which you guys got, to pay, and you guys are obliged to pay something in which that you created. So just above all else, and I always go over this, especially when we're covering the truth in lending, the chop up in which we had just created. I did a truth in lending overview, which was beautiful, which breaks down all of this and helps put together the FDCPA. I truly believe overall, just in general, the FDCPA, which is the subchapter we're on right now, which deals with debt collectors, and to see all of the laws within here, you guys, the FDCPA, once again, debt collection practices, you guys can come here on cornelllaw.com or .edu, excuse me, and you guys can, on the laptop or on a computer, you guys can just come press up chapter V, and you guys can just see specifically, from the title alone, some violations in which you guys have been violated up against. So say, for instance, you guys have been paying in these third-party debt collectors, because I know for my situation and my story and why I really, got deeper into consumer laws, because I remember I was running my network marketing company. I was making $5,000 a month residually. I was a platinum 5,000 in the company I was a part of, and every week I was getting $1,250. So at the time as well too, I was having debt collectors calling my phone. I'm thinking that, okay, I owe them money. I got to pay them this money, and this is gonna help my credit, because at the time my credit was at like a 580, right? And so I was like, I got the bread now, so now I'm gonna just all listen to some raw wave talking about you niggas worried about buying jewelry or some. We building our credit or some shit. I can't think of a word for word, but something Raw Wave was talking about, and that just had hit, and that got me to really just wanting to start working on my credit above all else. And so once again, this was 2019, 2020, and you niggas buying watches. Uh, I'm building credit or something. I forget what he said. Um, but no, once I heard that and really just got more educated in general about credit, that led me to here and learning about consumer law and learning about how debt is an obligation or an alleged obligation, meaning they're allegedly claiming and falsely claiming that I owe something. And once you understand that we're not obliged to do anything, you understand that, there is no such thing as debt. Congress never even defines, a loan. Congress never defines the term borrower. And why is that? They don't define that within the definition section of the FDCPA alone, where we're talking specifically about debt. Why do they not define a loan? But they define a creditor, they define a consumer, they define debt, they define a debt collector, but why do they never define a loan? In the truth of lending, they never define a loan. Lending, they never define the term borrower. So there's a reason and why they never define these terms, and that's because they're not referring to us within these contracts. Though they're calling you, and once again, how and what I was talking about earlier to touch back upon that, on how you've been deceived. They've called you a borrower. They've called you guys a tenant. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not, an officer in the military. I'm not a tenant, right? Nor are you guys. And if you guys knew the term or and the definition of a leasee, I believe, y'all would understand that you are not a leasee and you are not, doing the things in which it states a leasee does. And that once again, a tenant, back to that, they're speaking in Admiralty Maritime. The terms and the language they're referring to is to fictitious legal entities in which you guys are not. We are not fictitious. We are living. We are natural people. So we got to understand how to separate ourselves from the fictitious entity in which they're referring to. And that's why I was talking about, credit is really spiritual. It ain't, materialistic things in which we've been taught with the cars, houses, and all of that. If I were to tell you guys the moment that you guys fill out any credit application, whatever the transaction was and whatever you guys were going to acquire, it's been paid in full. Right? You gave them, and then you're giving them security interest in the property. It tells you that in your contract. In order to give somebody something, you must first obtain it in order to give it to them. Right? But then it states within my truth and lending disclosure right under that you gave security interest into this car, into this, property, whatever it may be. I know mine specifically says that word for word verbatim because I'm going through a case right now myself, and where, I'm breaking down the contract, and I've resent the contract because there's fraud within the contract. They deceived me, they misled me. And I'm going to go into some more here in a second. But I want to get back and take you guys back to, if you guys have paid these debt collectors and these attorney offices and any of these debt collectors, how to go get back any money in which you have. So if any consumer owes multiple debts and makes a single payment to any debt collector with respect to such debt collector may not apply such payment to any debt which is disputed by the consumer, and where applicable shall apply such payments in accordance with the consumer's directions. Right? So we shouldn't be making any payments at all, period. And then false and misleading representation is going to let us know right away a debt collector may not use any false, deceptive. I believe this is one of the most powerful laws and acts within the FDCPA, excuse me. Any false, deceptive, or misleading representation or means in connection with the collection of any debt. All right, we're talking about any debt. All right, without regard, and we know debt is an obligation to anything you're obliged to do, or allegedly obliged to do, without limiting the general application of the foregoing. The following conduct is a violation of this section. Number one, the false representation or implication that the debt collector is vouched for, bonded by, or affiliated with the United States or any state, including the use of any badge, uniform, facsimile, or thereof. I always talk about this whenever I, bring this one up. But when you guys get pulled over, the first thing in which cops, ask you guys for is license and registration. Once we understand the definition, and if you guys were here last week, and if you guys caught the truth and lending overview, and where we break down the definition of a credit card, you guys will understand why they're asking and demanding that license. You guys will understand what is created. And you guys will understand that once it creates, every consumer credit transaction creates what I'm referring to. And once it creates what I'm referring to, that's the sum of all charges, and that's paid in full. If any of you guys know what I'm referring to, you guys can drop it in the chat box and I'll go ahead and say it out loud. If any of you guys know what I'm referring to when it comes to truth and lending, and anytime your credit card is ran, this is created. The moment that this is created, this is the sum of all charges, word for word, defined by Congress in truth and lending. If y'all don't know, go back and watch our truth and lending videos. Go back and watch the video, the intro that we have on YouTube, the intro to TILA, and also down payments and how they're illegal. Go watch those videos and go see how, this is going to correlate as to why down payments are illegal as well too, and how everything is paid in full, and how your whole life is insured. So right away they're just letting us know, that anybody with the badge as well too, these cops are also debt collectors themselves as well too, and they use false and misleading representations to attempt to collect debt, to pay off the debt money system of the United States, because we're 32 trillion in debt. So we got to make it make sense. And this is how, why they deceive us, because they're paying off with, these traffic tickets, with these court tickets, with these court fees, with these court fines, with these, all of that is playing into their game, and it's all paying off the debt money system of the United States corporation. Once y'all understand that the United States owes us and they're indebted to us, we the people, You understand that I don't gotta pay nothing. Taxes is a contribution imposed. Go look up in Black's Law Dictionary the definition of taxes. Stop looking in Merriam and Webster Dictionary and all of these fictitious and yeah, I'm not even gonna go there, but all these fictitious grammatic, dictionaries in which they've educated us upon. We got to understand the true meaning behind these words, the true etymology behind these words. What's we call it. Kyrie was talking a little bit and touching upon that a little bit as well too. And everything is all in these books, y'all. I mean, if you guys go read Black's Law Dictionary, you guys will see, because our whole life is commerce. Everything is commerce. Everything is a business transaction. So we got to understand, the words in which that they're referring to as well too when it comes to in law in these courtrooms, because words in which we've been taught are defined completely different within the Black's Law Dictionary. So once we understand the true definition and the meaning behind these words, it's going to change the game. So now let me show you guys this. So if an attorney is defending any of these corporations in which are attempted to collect from you guys can go ahead and hit them with this one right here, 15 U.S.C. 1692E, number 3. And this states a false representation or implication that any individual is an attorney or that the communication is from an attorney. So right away, they're letting us know that attorneys shouldn't even be communicating with us. If so, and the way in which they do and how they do, because they do so, and we all know that, and we all know somebody that's probably been, prosecuting in communication with these attorneys as they've been attempting to collect the debt. I know for a fact my mom's had a situation in where they ended up suspending her license from a situation that didn't even occur or incur from or with her. It was actually from my brother, and through that, as they were suspended, they had told her or tried to tell her that the only way she can get it back was if she had paid this attorney fee of over $20,000, and they had sent in some, negotiable instruments and whatnot, and I, autographed those negotiable instruments and endorsed them, as on behalf of my mom, and we came back, paid in full from the SESK Trust, from the all caps name. I refer and I go into that, all the time on these calls, and today's call specifically not upon that, and that the legal fictitious entity I was referring to earlier is this strawman, is this corporate entity in which they created for you guys at birth, making you guys think in which you guys are this, and your whole life has been mirrored as you being deceived into you are this foreign vessel when you are not this foreign vessel, and you are a natural, breathing, living person. And once you understand how to separate yourself and operate out of the public and into the private, that's when you guys are truly going to be reserving all of your rights. That's when you guys are truly going to be living free. Anytime you're operating in the public, I mean, they're going to go out, and if you don't have your paperwork in order, they're going to hold you in, their statutes, and they're going to hold you in their jurisdiction because they know that you don't know who you are. And that's why it's vital to truly understand the etymology, the definitions of each word, and truly how to assert ourselves and knowing just consumer law as a whole. Another one dealing with these debt collectors as well too. The false representation or implication that accounts have been turned over to an innocent purchaser for value. So they tell you that, oh, it was sold to a third-party debt collector. Yo, you could tell me all that you want. Right here is not very lawful. It's stating right here in black and white. Congress letting us know it's not very lawful. The false representation or implication that documents are legal process. They tell you or they show you they got, court order paperwork from the courts demanding that you owe this and that and the third. It's a false representation implication that documents are legal process. So come on, y'all. We got to understand that all of them are using false and deceiving and misleading means to attempt to collect an alleged debt. That's how powerful you are. So the way in which they're blowing y'all up, I want y'all to start blowing them up with invoices. I want y'all to start blowing them up with CFPB complaints. I want y'all to start blowing them up with attorney general complaints through whatever state that you're in. Right? Attorney general complaints, CFPB, the only bureau that there is. So quit calling Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion bureaus, because they are not bureaus. They're consumer reporting agencies, and they hold absolutely no power. And there's not just Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. There's over 330 reporting agencies as well, too, in which are furnishing your information, from insurance policies to, traffic tickets to, you name it. They got information on you, and that's how powerful you are. They're buying and selling your information, reporting it on through these reporting agencies, and where anytime you go open up an account, whether it be a check-ins, whether it be a credit card, whether it be you go and apply for, anytime you're going through, they're checking these reporting agencies, because they got an affiliation with these, and they've created, and I don't know 100%, so don't take my word 100% for this, but it only makes sense in that they've partnered up together. They're well aware of how they're deceiving you, and they're capitalizing off, and they're getting paid off. And they have, once again, I believe, an affiliation through, their reporting process. And they all, I know for a fact that they all do benefit from it, because anytime you even get your credit pulled in general, it doesn't matter where you at or anything, they're pulling up their own credit scoring system. And that's why each score is different through Credit Karma, it don't matter what reporting score you're on, it's all going to show different, because anybody can pull up, your credit score based off your consumer report, and the credit score can be different anywhere and everywhere in all reality. But now, if I know the 6 data points that I'm looking for when it comes to building out my FICO, credit score, and my consumer report, which is truly the most important thing to build out and focus on, is not the score, but the consumer report. Because like I said, each bank has their own scoring system. Each lender has their own scoring system. They're all going to tell you different scores. But if your report is hitting and meeting all these 6 data points, the score is going to accumulate to something in the 750s, 800s plus, if you hit all 6 data points. And if you don't know the 6 data points, I believe it's on the YouTube. If not, tap in with YBC University. It's $99 a month, right? It's $99 a month, and you guys are going to learn in depth a lot more on what I'm elaborating upon when it comes to the FDCPA. I got an overview breaking down the whole FDCPA, breaking down all of Truth in Lending, breaking down all of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Then I got videos as well too that will specify and break down certain laws, and the most important laws in which will pertain to, medical bills, repos, charge-offs, late payments. We got everything within there, so it's going to help you guys be able to break it down. We are on the process of relaunching YBC University, so don't go take action now, but stay tuned within the next 2 weeks, and we're going to have that up and running again. We're also going to be dropping an affiliation, process, and link through that as well too, and where you guys all can get a percentage of remedy for any referral in which you guys refer. And the more referrals, the higher the percentage. And that's going to go for all 3 packages. So we're working on all of that and getting all of that done on the back end. But the biggest thing, once again, and one of the most important things I would state within the FDCPA, is false and misleading representation. Another one I would want to go ahead and leave you guys off with is cease and desist. And anytime, I'm starting off dealing with and communicating with these consumer reporting agencies, this is what I'm hitting them with. So I want to show you guys specifically, a letter in which a template letter in which I've written up for you guys, just so you guys can see a different perspective and a different breakdown of cease and desist. Stop share real quick. Y'all can't see all the sauce. Back outside, boys. All right, I got a couple of them, so drop a 111 if all this is making sense and if you gaining some value. Drop a 2 if you just completely lost. You like, yo, I've never heard this in my life, and you are not helping with this. It's all good with wherever you at. Or drop a 3 if you like, I kind of get it, I kind of don't get it. That's okay to be there as well too. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. So check this out. As a living, breathing man / woman, I'm aware of my unalienable rights, which have been infringed upon. I'm stopping all communication through mediums, other than that through mail. And a medium, let me show you. I'm not even going to dive into that, but a medium can also be your consumer report. A medium can also be through social media. You know, you guys may have seen that debt collectors can reach out to you through social media now. A medium can also be through mail. You guys are getting these invoices and these postages stating that you owe something, right? That's a medium of communication. A medium can be through telephone, right? So those are all mediums of communication. So I'm stopping all communication through mediums other than that through which mail. I'm demanding that you stop all collection activities, and that includes reporting anything to my consumer report with the consumer reporting agencies, creditor, and debt collectors in pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692 CC. Cease communication if a consumer notifies a debt collector in writing that the consumer refuses to pay a debt or that the consumer wishes the debt collector to cease further communication with the consumer. The debt collector shall not communicate further with the consumer with respect to such debt. So right away, anytime, you know, you guys see all these famous people and their attorneys, anytime they get into some legal, you know, stuff, their attorneys right away will hit the other attorney office with the cease and desist, and that's stopping all illegal activity. All right, so what it means to cease and desist is to stop all legal activity. I'm refusing to pay the alleged debt, and if once again, anytime you communicate with me, I demand that it must be through mail. I'm aware of my open-end credit plan as defined in 15 U.S.C. 1602. With that being said, I'm aware of my credit file, and I want to see the transactional history. I want to see my audit trail, my file, to verify this alleged debt that you are stating me, the living person, is obliged to pay. I demand my audit trail. Send everything to the address below, and once again, that is only a medium of communication we will continue speaking through. So this is one of the examples and templates I had, you know, drafted up, September 7th, and we got a couple more as well too, just breaking down this law specifically, only 15 U.S.C. 1692C. This one specifically, I got multiple letters breaking this down specifically. So there's other ways in which you can word it, in which certain words mean. So you got to know how to truly articulate yourself and truly just understand what these words mean above all else. But I see some things in the chat box, and that's, you know, all that I have for you guys today, really in the first things. So let me clarify it and make it a little bit more specific. So CFPB. So this is what we want to hit them with first is through the CFPB, and also just a letter, you know, that we can have once again through mail, in which we can communicate with these debt collectors. So we're going to send a copy of that letter in which I just, you know, shown you guys typed out right there to the creditor, to the quote unquote creditor, and to also the debt collector, in which is the third party debt collector, in which is attempting to collect it. Really, they're both debt collectors, and really we're going to hit both of them with, you know, cease and desist. So through the CFPB, you can include both of them as well too, but all parties are going to be held liable once again. So we're cease and desisting, we're ceasing all communication and all means to attempt to collect any debt. And then right after that, and even within that, we can let them know about their false and misleading representation. From there, as we get a response, they're going to attempt to validate or verify anything. Anytime they attempt to validate or verify anything, we know we're going to hit them with the next step in the administrative process, which is going to be debt validation. So we're going to have them validate the debt. And these are the 5 requirements. I want you guys to also really read through C as well too, right? And really break down and understand what that's stating right there as well too. So those are the 2 steps in which you guys are going to go out and apply and attack these corporations on. And I like to, you know, go through 1692G one by one. So I like to send them, you know, if you guys are in the mentorship, go ahead and check the FDCPA section, and we got each letter. We got a letter for each one of these for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, in which we'll send out to them. So that's how we're going to deal with these debt collectors. From there, you know, there's other steps in which we can take as well too if they, you know, don't budge with these flies is loving me. If they don't budge with what we had attacked them with. So yeah, take action on that information. And I want to leave this open to you guys now to see if anybody has any questions for me. If not, we'll go ahead and end it there. but go ahead and raise your hand or drop in the chat box or unmute yourself. Either one is good.